Have you ever considered building a mind so strong, so formidable, that it terrifies people? This isn't about using violence or manipulation to suppress others, nor about radiating malice to push them away. So, from where does this terror truly stem? Is it a primal, intuitive reaction, like the instinctive tremor humans feel when confronting a storm or an unfathomable abyss?
Have you ever encountered someone whose very existence is a silent challenge, whose gaze is like a penetrating sword, reaching into the unacknowledged corners of your soul? Their independent thought, their unwavering resolve, make your own beliefs and values seem to totter. You cannot define them, cannot control them, and perhaps cannot even truly comprehend them. They seem to transcend all the social rules and psychological boundaries you are familiar with, walking a path you have never dared to imagine. In the face of such a mind, what do you feel? Awe, perhaps? Or the nakedness of being exposed? Or a profound fear of your own mediocrity and weakness? This world, from ancient times to the present, seems to harbor a collective fear of genuine, untamed power. Society conditions us. Culture indoctrinates us to obey rules, integrate into groups, pursue comfort and security, and become normal members. We are encouraged to play accepted roles, to gain external approval, to chase labels defined as success. Yet those unwilling to be defined, unwilling to be tamed, daring to break through barriers and walk alone, are often viewed as outliers, even demonized. Their existence acts as a ruthless mirror, reflecting our deepest suppressed desires, our unlived true selves, and our collective fear of freedom and solitude. Do you feel this invisible pressure? Have you at some point caught a glimpse of that wild strength deep within you, yearning to break free from all constraints, only to be instantly overwhelmed by immense fear and discomfort, ultimately choosing to retreat back into the safety of the enclosure? Nietzsche, the 19th century dissector of the soul, understood the root of this fear. He will reveal to you that true strength does not come from controlling others, but from staring directly into your own abyss, from integrating your inner chaos, and from the unending transcendence of your life's limits. Once awakened, this power, in its purity and untamed nature, can indeed make those immersed in false security feel uneasy, even terrified. Nietzsche's will to power is not the common understanding of dominance and conquest over the external world. That is merely a low, pathological view of power, often originating from inner scarcity and weakness. True power is internal, a mastery and shaping of oneself. It is a power of becoming, an eternal, self-overcoming Selbstüberwindung. You are not conquering others, but conquering your own inertia, your fears, your habitual thinking, your self-deception. It is a process of transforming inner chaos, pain, and contradiction into creative force. You need not fear your inner darkness. On the contrary, those suppressed impulses, those desires you are ashamed to admit, are the most primal, untamed energies of your life. When you dare to confront them, understand them, and integrate them into your consciousness, they cease to be destructive forces and become precious raw materials for your self-elevation. Nietzsche believed that each of us carries the heavy burden of history and the imprint of culture, these invisible forces shaping our thoughts and behavior like genes. A truly strong mind is one that can identify and break free from these bonds, refusing to be swayed by popular values or morals, daring to establish new values for itself. This requires immense courage. The courage to defy everything you know, to question all the truths you have been indoctrinated with. Why would such a mind inspire fear? Because it acts like a clear mirror, reflecting the emptiness, mediocrity, and fragility within the observer.
When you face someone who truly lives according to their own will rather than societal expectations, do you feel an inexplicable unease? This unease arises from your own self-examination. Are you also playing a role defined by society, approved by others? Are you also suppressing your true self to conform? This powerful mind, by its very existence, is a silent critique of your current comfort zone, of your fragile belief system.
It does not compromise, does not cater, does not seek your approval. It simply exists, challenging all falsehoods and pretenses with its pure, unfiltered authenticity. This uncompromisingly strong mind is extremely dangerous to those immersed in the herd, content with a mediocre life, for such a mind refuses to operate in ways familiar to them. It does not seek external validation, therefore, it cannot be bought by external praise. It does not fear external criticism, therefore, it cannot be deterred by external threats. It possesses its own internal logic and value system, which often runs counter to mainstream societal values. You try to judge it morally, but it may transcend good and evil with its unique affirmation of life. You try to bind it with social norms, but it may break all conventions with its primal creativity. This characteristic of being unclassifiable, uncontrollable, is precisely the source of its terrifying nature. A deeper reason lies in the fact that a truly strong mind can see through worldly illusions, expose the lies of the collective unconscious, and discern the various phantoms people weave to escape pain and responsibility. When it unreservedly points out the emperor's new clothes, when it tears away the pretentious masks people rely on, fragile souls feel their foundations shaken and fall into a profound existential anxiety. Have you ever felt that surge of anger or fear from within when someone challenges your deepest beliefs? This reaction is not directed at the other person's malice, but is an instinctive defense of the false sense of security you rely upon.
A strong mind in its freedom and independence ruthlessly exposes the servility, dependence, and fear of freedom in others. It makes you realize that the freedom you possess might just be another form of cage, a self-imposed shackles. It terrifies because it challenges not only your cognition, but also your very mode of existence.
It forces you to confront a painful truth. You may have never truly lived. You have merely existed, passively, playing a role not your own according to someone else's script. It exposes your unlived life, showing you the possibilities you abandoned out of fear, the courage you never attempted out of cowardice. This revelation is cruel because it forces you to face your own inadequacy and incompleteness.
You cannot dissolve it with pity, for its power does not stem from suffering, but from the will to overcome suffering. You cannot diminish it with blame, for it has already transcended the binary opposition of right and wrong. It simply exists, with its undeniable authenticity, becoming the greatest unease deep within you. This fear is not malice, but the growing pains before your self-awakening, a primal alarm issued by your soul when confronted with a higher dimension of existence. Do you dare to face this mirror? So, how can you build a mind so strong
it terrifies. This is no overnight myth, but an arduous path of self-sculpting, requiring courage and solitude. The first step is absolute, ruthless self-honesty. You must dare to look directly into the most hidden corners of your inner self, including those desires you are ashamed to utter, those fears you desperately try to conceal, and those shadows you have never acknowledged.
Jungian analytical psychology similarly emphasizes the importance of integrating the shadow, while Nietzsche tells you in a more radical way, those dark sides you have tried to suppress and deny are not viruses to be eradicated, but the most primal, uncarved energies of your life. When you dare to embrace them, understand them, and integrate them into your consciousness, they cease to be destructive forces and become precious raw materials for your self-elevation.
The second step is to actively embrace pain and discomfort. This runs contrary to the worldly pursuit of happiness. Nietzsche believed that suffering is not a curse, but a necessary condition for the growth of power. Every struggle, every failure, every setback is an excellent opportunity to transcend your own limits and increase your mental capacity. You do not passively endure suffering, but actively seek challenges, treating every resistance as an exercise, a crucible for self-refinement. You will become your own sculptor, using the chisel of pain and the hammer of will to carve your unworked life stone into a unique work of art. The third step is to set and adhere to your own values and goals, rather than drifting with the tide. This means you must liberate yourself from the meaning systems imposed by society and create your own meaning for life. This requires immense solitude and courage, as your path may be unconventional and even clash violently with mainstream values. You will no longer seek external approval or applause, because your inner value system will be strong enough to support all your choices. You will no longer fear solitude. Instead, you will find strength and clarity in it.
Nietzsche will make you confront the ultimate test of eternal recurrence.
Are you willing for every choice you make, every day you live, to be replayed infinitely? Only when you can firmly answer yes will your life truly reach its highest degree of affirmation and strength. This is a radical freedom, a complete self-mastery, and it is precisely this uncompromising purity that makes those living in compromise and pretense tremble.
The ultimate insight is that building a terrifying mind is by no means intended to frighten others, nor to gain external power or dominance. That terror is merely a side effect triggered when your inner strength is so pure, so real, that it exposes the fragility and falsehoods within those who have not yet awakened. It is not something you deliberately seek, but a powerful aura you unintentionally exude. What you truly pursue is to live your life to the maximum extent of its vitality, to realize your inner authenticity to the fullest, and to engage in unending creative affirmation. You're no longer a passive recipient of fate, but an active shaper and artist of your own destiny. Such a mind is like a towering mountain peak, its very existence an invitation as well as a challenge.
For those who yearn to ascend, it points the way and provides inspiration. But for those content with the comfort of the plains, its grandeur may bring a sense of oppression and deep inferiority. This terror is the discomfort experienced by unexamined souls when facing deeply examined souls. It is the invisible pressure felt by those who follow the crowd
when confronting those who stand alone.
It is the nakedness exposed by those living in lies and pretense when confronted with truth. It stems from your courage to peel back all societal and cultural masks, to confront your most primal, most authentic, most powerful self, and to display this undiluted essence to the world. So, remember this: the wild impulses you once tried to suppress, the inner conflicts that tore you apart, they are not your weaknesses, but the most precious treasures of your life. Listen to them, understand them, and imbue them with a grander meaning. Let your life be an unending sculpture where every pain and every overcoming carves deeper lines and shapes a more resilient silhouette. When you truly become the highest version of yourself, you will not need to deliberately seek the fear of others, because your very existence will become an undeniable declaration of power, a most fervent affirmation of life.
That shock, that deterrence, that terrifying authenticity will be your truest badge of honor. Are you ready to embark on this solitary journey towards true strength?